We're on My Sweet Audrina, Part 2, Breaking Through. Sylvia was nowhere to be found. Hysterical, I ran outside in the rain, searching for her. You come out. Don't try to hide, Sylvia. Sylvia, what did you do? Did you shove Aunt Elizabeth too? Oh, Sylvia, I don't want them to put you away. I don't. I tripped and fell to the ground and just lay there crying, not caring anymore. No matter what I did or how hard I tried, everything went wrong. What was wrong with me, with Whitefern, with Papa, with all of us? It was useless to try to find happiness. Whenever I had it, just within my grasp, it slipped from my hand and shattered. It just wasn't fair what had happened to my mother, to my aunt, and now to Billy. I beat at the ground and screamed at God for being unmerciful. Stop doing this to me, I yelled. You killed the first Audrina. Are you trying to kill me too by killing all of those I love? A small touch on my arm brought me back to myself. Through my tears, I turned to see Sylvia above me, pleading with eyes that had focused again. Audrina, she said in a slow way. I sat up and with relief pulled her into my arms. On the wet grass she slumped against me. It's all right. I know you didn't mean to hurt Billy. Gently I rocked her back and forth, thinking, despite myself, of her dislike for Billy and how she coveted the red cart. Several times she's shown the colors of prisms right into my eyes. An accident? Deliberately? Of course, whatever Sylvia had done had to be done without intent to kill. She'd shoved Billy off the cart, and when she had, both Billy and the cart had clattered down the stairs. But not deliberately planned, for Sylvia couldn't think ahead. Sylvia started to speak, but speech didn't come easily to her. As she struggled to say the right words, with the rain soaking us both to the skin, Arden came running to me. Audrina, Vera called. What's wrong? What are the two of you doing out here in the rain? How could I tell him? Thank God Vera hadn't made the effort. Death seemed as nothing to her, an everyday occurrence that made her only curious, not sad. Let's go inside, darling, I said as he helped me to stand. Holding fast to Sylvia's hand, I guided him to the side door and into the hall that led to the dining room. I saw my pale reflection in the mirror. It's your mother, Arden. What about my mother? Audrina, what's wrong? Sylvia and I went down to the river, or at least I thought Sylvia was behind me. When I went back, the storm had started. The front hall was dark. Something came crashing down the stairs. I stumbled on whatever it was. Then Arden, it was Billy. She fell down the stairs. The cart came with her. Arden, it's just like what happened to Aunt Elizabeth. But, he said, dropping the towel and searching my eyes. Your aunt died, Audrina. Mom, she's not dead. My arms went around him as I pressed my cheek against his. I'm so sorry, Arden. So sorry to tell you. She's gone, Arden. She fell all the way to the bottom. I think she broke her neck just as my aunt did. His face crumbled. His eyes went void with pain he didn't want me to see. Then he pressed his face into my hair. Just in a loud roar jolted us both. Papa's voice screamed at Vera. What are you saying? Billy can't be dead. His heavy steps came running down the hall. Billy can't have fallen down the stairs. Things like that don't happen twice. They do when Sylvia's on the loose, yelled Vera. She wanted Billy's red cart, and she shoved her so she fell down the stairs. I was in the bathtub. I heard the screams. Then how do you know it was Sylvia? I yelled. Can you see through walls, Vera? In the foyer, Papa knelt beside Billy's dark form and tenderly took her into his arms. Her dark head lolled backward, much in the way Sylvia's did. I was having artificial legs made, he said in a flat way. She told me she couldn't ever use them to walk, but I thought she could have pretty legs just for showing off when I took her into town. She would have fit over the stumps and look good. Then she wouldn't have to wear all those long, hot dresses, too. Oh, he sobbed. Carefully, he put Billy back on the floor, and then he jumped to his feet and made a grab to see Sylvia. Damn you, he screamed as he came at me to get her. I shoved Sylvia behind me and heard her whimper of fright. Wait a minute, Papa. Sylvia was with me all the time. We went down to the river, and when we come back, Billy was dead on the floor. But Vera just said, he shouted, then stopped, looking at me to Vera. You know what Vera is, Papa. She lies. I did not lie, yelled Vera, her pale face very white. I heard Billy yelling at Sylvia, and then I heard Billy scream, Audrina's a liar. Papa's eyes narrowed as he tried to guess who was telling the truth. All right, both of you tell different tales. I know for a fact that Vera is a liar, and I also know that Audrina would do everything to protect Sylvia. Regardless of how Billy died, I cannot bear to look at Sylvia now. I'm going to have her put away so she can never harm anyone else. No, I screamed. If you put Sylvia away, then you send me with her. Whatever happened, it was an accident. His hard eyes became slits. Then Sylvia was not with you all the time. Something came to me then, and then lifted the burden from my heart. Papa, Sylvia would never go near Billy. She refused to let Billy touch her, and never would she willingly touch Billy, even to get her cart. Her way was to sneak Billy's cart from her when Billy wasn't looking. I don't believe you, said Papa. I only hope for your sake that the police will. 2 deaths and falls down the same stairs is going to be rather difficult to explain. It was Papa who called the police, and by the time they arrived, we'd all gained some control of our emotions. With Billy photographed a dozen times, the police ambulance drove her away. Pacing before the ornate fireplace covered by tool leather, Papa made a formidable, impressive opponent for the detective who came with the same two policemen who investigated my aunt's death. He told his story straight. Then it was Vera's turn. I marveled at how protective she was of Sylvia, never mentioning the shouts or the screams she'd heard. I was taking a bath, shampooing my hair, doing my nails, and when I came out, I heard my cousin down in the foyer crying. When I went down, I saw Miss Lowe at the bottom of the stairs. Wait a minute, miss. You're not Miss Lowe's sister? We were raised as sisters in this house, but we are really first cousins. Papa scowled darkly, but at the same time seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. It was then my turn to repeat what I knew. I weighed each word I said carefully, doing my utmost to shield Sylvia. My mother-in-law had a way of lowering herself down the stairs one step at a time. As she went, she'd take the cart with her, putting it on the next lower front step. She went up the stairs in the same way. Her arms were very strong. She had a splinter in one finger. She must have put too much weight on that hand and lost balance. I can't be positive, but I wasn't there. I had taken my sister Sylvia down to the river with me. The two of you stayed together all the time? Yes, sir, all the time. And when the two of you came back, you found your mother-in-law dead on the floor? No, sir. Soon after we came in the door, before I had the chance to light the lamps, I heard her falling down in the cart, too. Vera was watching the younger policeman, about 30, who kept staring at her. Oh, my God. She was flirting with him, crossing and uncrossing her legs, fiddling with the neckline of her half-open robe. The older policeman didn't seem nearly as interested, but rather disgusted. Then that means, Mrs. Whiteburn, that you were the only one in the house when Mrs. Lowe Sr. fell. I was taking a bath, repeated Vera. I sunbathed this morning, and that made me feel hot and sticky. I came inside to wash my hair, and as I always do, I soaked and did my nails. Did my toenails, too. She thrust her foot forward. Her gleaming toenails peeked through her sandals. If I had struggled with Mrs. Lowe, I would have smeared my nail polish. How long does it take for nail polish to dry? He asked me this, not Vera. It all depends. One coat dries in a hurry, but the more coats you use, the longer it takes to dry. I try to be careful with my nails for at least 30 minutes after the last coat. Exactly, said Vera, looking at me gratefully. And if you know anything at all about nails, you can see I put on 5 coats, cutting the base coat and the top sealing coat. The policeman seemed lost in his complexity of feminine toiletry. In the end, it was decided that our front stairs were highly dangerous to everyone, especially after they were examined in a loose place and the carpeting was found. Easily that could have tripped her up, said the younger officer. I stared down at the red carpeting, trying to remember how that could have happened when our house had been refurbished from top to bottom and new carpet had been laid on the stairs. How could a woman with no legs trip? Anyway, unless somehow she started to move her hand and it had snagged beneath the loose place, or her clothes had caught on something, or a prism was flashed in her eyes to blind her. But the hall had been dark after the sun went away. Maybe we all looked too grief-stricken to be murderers, or Papa had strings he pulled, for again, another death at Whiteburn was called accidental. I was uneasy in Sylvia's presence now. She hadn't liked Aunt Elizabeth either. I began to watch her covertly, again realizing, but with more impact, that Sylvia resented anyone who might be a threat to her place in my heart. It was in her eyes and her very reaction that I was the only one who mattered in her life, and to me she was going to cling. I had done that to her myself, with a little urging from Papa. The day of Billy's funeral, I was deathly sick with the worst cold of my life. Feverish and depressed, I lay on my bed as Vera attended me, seeming happy to show off her professional skills. Tossing and turning, burning with fever, I hardly even noticed when she spoke to me, or how handsome Arden had become. Of course, he was always good-looking, but when he was a boy, I thought him weak. He seemed to have taken on a little of Papa's strength and personality, have you noticed? What she said was true. Arden was ambivalent about my father as I was. He loved and admired him, and bit by bit he was picking up Papa's mannerisms, his walk, his firm, absolute way of talking. Dreamlike, I saw Billy behind my eyes, sitting at the cottage window, passing goodies out to Arden and me when we were children. I saw her as she looked the last week of her life, radiant with happiness because she was in love. But why had Billy tried to use the front stairs when the back ones were so much closer to the kitchen? Just like Aunt Elizabeth, who had also spent most of her days in the kitchen. Could it be that because the front stairs led straight down to the marble door, without the sharp turns and carpeted landings of the back stairs, they were the only deadly stairs? And that meant someone had deliberately pushed both my aunt and Billy. I lived that day of Billy's death over and over again, hearing her scream, then the clatter and thuds of both Billy and the cart crashing down the stairs. Stop crying, ordered Vera harshly. Remember when my mother told you that tears never did any good? They don't. Never have, never will. You take from life what you want, and you don't ask permission, or else you get nothing. As sick as I was, I cringed from the harshness of her loud voice when there was no man around to hear her speak. She threw Sylvia, who was crouched in the corner, a malice glance. I despise that little monster. Why didn't you tell the truth to the police and rid yourself of her? She's the one who killed my mother just as she killed Billy. Get this, Sylvia, shouted Vera. You are not going to sneak out behind me and shove me down the stairs, for I'll be on my guard. And that's not going to happen, you understand? Leave her alone, Vera. My voice very weak, my vision very fuzzy. But it seemed Sylvia was more terrified of Vera than Vera was of her, so terrified of Vera that she crawled under my bed and hid there until Papa and Arden came home. Life went sour after Billy died, perhaps because of all of us, but Vera and Sylvia missed her so much. Perhaps because I was suffering a double loss now that I doubted they mistrusted Sylvia. I gave up on Sylvia and no longer bothered to try to teach her anything. Often when I turned suddenly, I caught Sylvia staring at me wistfully, a yearning in her expression. It was not so much in her eyes as it was in her attitude as she tried to catch hold of my hand and tried to please me with wildflowers she brought in from the woods. My cold lingered and lingered, keeping me coughing through most of the summer. I was 19 still, and looking forward to that birthday that would make me 20. I'd feel safer then, with no 9 to curse me. Life seemed too cruel, taking both my aunt and Billy in 1 year, and Vera was still with us, taking over the household chores with a willingness that both surprised and pleased Papa. I lost weight and began to neglect my appearance. My 20th birthday came and went with the relief of escaping a year with a 9 in it, and it didn't bring me happiness. I clung more to the shadows near the wall and eyed colors with fear. I wished now my memory still had holes into which I could drop my anguish and my suspicions to Sylvia, but the Swiss cheese memory belonged to my childhood, and now I knew only too well how to hold on to that which grieved me. Another autumn passed, another winter. There were nights when Arden didn't come home at all, and I didn't care. Here, said Vera one spring day near the anniversary of Billy's death, drink this hot tea and put some color in your cheeks. You look like death warmed over. I like iced tea better, I said, shoving the cup away. Angrily she shoved it back. Drink the tea, Audrina. Stop behaving like a child. Didn't you just say a few minutes ago you had a chill? Obediently I picked up the cup and started to put it to my lips when Sylvia came running forward. She hurled her full weight against Vera, who fell forward and grabbed for me. In so doing, she knocked the cup from my hand. It fell to the floor and broke, and both Vera and I tipped over in the chair. Screaming her rage with pain twisting her face, Vera tried to punish Sylvia, but she'd sprained her ankle. Oh, goddamn that moron. I'm going to talk to Papa about having her put away. Blinking my eyes and trying to pull myself back into focus, I picked myself up, and out of habit pulled Sylvia into my arms. No, Vera, not as long as I live, where Sylvia will be put away. Why don't you leave? I'll take over the housework and the cooking. We don't need you any longer. She began to cry. After all I've done to help you, and now you don't want me, she sobbed. You're spoiled, Audrina, spoiled. If you had a backbone at all, you'd have left this place a long, long time ago. I thank you for taking care of me, Vera, but from this day forward, I'll do it for myself. One day in summer, Arden came storming home from his office very early. He ran into our bedroom and yanked me from the bed. Enough is enough, he yelled. I should have done this months ago. You cannot throw your life away and mine because you're not mature enough to face facts. Death is all around us. From the moment we're born, we're on our way to our graves. But think of it this way, Audrina. No one really ever dies. We are like leaves of the trees. We bud out in the spring of our birth and fall off in the autumn of our lives, but we do come back. Just like the leaves of spring, we do live again. For the first time since that awful day Billy fell, I really saw my husband's fatigue. The small lines etched around his tired red eyes that had sunk deeper into a skull like mine. He hadn't shaved, and that lent him a raffish, out-of-character look like a stranger I didn't know and didn't love. I saw faults in his face I'd never noticed before. Pulling away, I fell back on the bed and just lay there. He came to kneel and bow his head on my breast, pleading with me to come back to him. I love you, and day by day you're killing me. I lost my mother and my wife on the same day, and I still eat, still go to work, still carry on. But I can't continue to live this kind of life, if this can be called living. Something in me cracked then. My arms slid around him and my fingers curled into his thick hair. I love you, Arden. Don't lose patience. Keep holding on and I'll come your way. I know I will, for I want to. Almost crying, kissing me with a passion almost crazy, he finally drew away and smiled. All right, I'm willing to wait, but not forever. You remember that. Soon he was in the bathroom showering, and Sylvia had risen from her place in the corner to stand at the foot of the bed. Pitifully, she tried to focus her eyes. Her small hands reached for me pleadingly, begging me to come back to her, too. She had changed. I hardly knew her. At 12 years of age, Sylvia had developed almost overnight. For a while I wasn't looking. A woman's figure. Someone had brushed her hair and tied it back in a ponytail with an aqua satin ribbon that matched the lovely outfit I'd never seen before. Totally surprised, I stared at her beautiful young face, her shapely young body that the form-fitting cotton dress revealed. What a fool I was to have suspected Sylvia could harm anyone. She needed me. How could I have forgotten Sylvia in my apathy? I stared at Sylvia, who had moved to the dimmest corner and crouched with her knees pulled up to the crotch of her panties, so much that the crotch of her panties showed. Pull your dress down, I thought, and I watched her obey without any sense of power or surprise. A long time ago, Sylvia and I had developed a rapport between us. Mothers and aunts could die, daughters and sons too, yet life went on, and the sun still shone. The rain still fell, and the months came and went. Papa began to show more definite signs of aging, as he also showed faint signs of mellowing. I knew that Arden was seeing a great deal of Vera away from Whitefern. Even under my own roof, I'd often glimpsed him in some room that was seldom used. I closed my mind and my eyes and pretended I didn't notice Arden's flushed face and the way Vera had to smooth down her tight-sheathed dress that seemed painted on. She smiled at me, smugly, mockingly, telling me she'd won. Why didn't I care anymore? Late one evening, when I was no longer expecting to see Arden enter my room, he opened the door and came to sit on the edge of the bed. To my utter amazement, he began to tug off his shoes and his socks. I started to say something sarcastic about Vera, who'd been bitchy all day, but I said nothing. In case you're interested, he said, I'm not going to touch you. I'd just like to sleep in this room again and feel you near me before I make up my mind what to do with my life. I'm not happy, Audrina. I don't think you're happy either. I want you to know I've talked to Damien, and your father no longer embellishes money from his dormant accounts. He's honest now about old stock certificates that have great value. He was surprised I'd caught on and didn't deny anything. All he said was I did it for a good cause. He gave his information in an indifferent way, as if the words were spoken only to bridge the gap between us. Now that Arden was assistant vice president of my father's firm, he stopped talking of someday returning to his first love of architecture. He put away his draftsman's tools and the drawing table Bill had bought for him when he was 16, just as he put away the other dreams of his youth. I guess we all did the same thing. Fate dictated the paths we trod. Yet it hurt to see those things carried up into the attic, for so seldom did anything come back down. I watched him put his creative ability away like something useless, and I felt disappointed to see he developed Papa's craving for money, for power, and then more money. Though I tried time and time again to find concrete evidence that he was Vera's lover, I guess I didn't really want to know, or easily enough I could have caught them. And time, once so fast, then so slow, speeded up again, and the very monotony of everydayness, and I was 22. Another spring and summer would soon disappear into the void I'd created for myself. Just for something to occupy myself with, I've seriously been cultivating the rose garden Mama had started long ago. I bought books on how to grow roses and attended garden club meetings, taking Sylvia with me, and introducing her first time to outsiders. Though she said little, no one thought her anything but shy, or at least they pretended to think that. I dressed Sylvia in pretty clothes and styled her hair becomingly. She was also frightened, always frightened, and seemed relieved to come home and put on her old garments. One hot Saturday in late May, I was down on my knees in Mama's rose garden, lightly snatching the ground with a hand rake before I added fertilizer. Tuber rose bulbs were nearby, and soon I'd have them in the ground. Sylvia was inside the house taking a nap, and Vera had driven with Papa into town to shop for new clothes. Suddenly a long shadow threw cool shade above me. I tripped back the brim of my straw hat and stared up at Arden, whom I believed was off playing golf. A part of me thought he and Vera could very well have arranged to meet in town. Why are you wasting your time out here and forgetting your music? He said harshly. Anybody can grow flowers, Audrina. Not everybody has the potential to be a great musician. What happened to your dream of making all American cities beautiful? I asked sarcastically, thinking that as soon as I won prizes with my new breeds of roses and tulips, I'd go on to cultivate orchids in the greenhouse I'd ordered. And once I was bored with orchids, I'd find another hobby to keep me going, until one day I, too, ended up in the Whitefern Cemetery. You sound bitter like your aunt, said Arden. Don't we all have dreams when we're very young? I used to believe that you would never find anything as fascinating or absorbing as me. How wrong I was. No sooner did we marry than you were locking doors to keep me out. You don't need me like I thought you would. There you are on your knees with canvas gloves in your hands, and you keep that damn hat on your head to shade your face so I can't even see you. You don't lift your eyes to meet mine, and you've stopped smiling when I come home. You treat me as if I'd become a stuffy piece of furniture to clutter up the neatness of your days without me. Don't you love me any more, Audrina? I went on feeding the roses, plotting the tulip beds, thinking about the orchids, wondering how soon Sylvia would wake up. Arden reached to put his arms about me. I love you, he said in such a solemn way, I alerted enough to stop what I was doing. If you can't love me, Audrina, then let me go. Set me free to find someone who will love me, as I want and need to be loved. I forced myself to say indifferently, Vera? Yes, he bit out, Vera. At least she isn't cold and unresponsive. She treats me like a man. I'm not a saint or a devil, Audrina, just a man who has desires you won't satisfy. I tried for almost 3 years. Oh, how I've tried. But you won't yield, and now I'm tired of trying. I want out. I'm going to divorce you and marry Vera, unless you can love me physically as much as you love me in other ways. I swiveled around on my knees to stare into his face. He really did love me. It was in his eyes. I saw love for me shining in his eyes, and a terrible sadness was there. Divorcing me and marrying Vera wouldn't make him truly happy, not nearly as happy as my physical response would. Confused thoughts raced through my mind. Puppy love, my aunt and father had called what I felt for Arden, and they'd been right. Adolescent love that wanted nothing more than hugs, small kisses, and hand-holding. Now he was leaving me for Vera, and in the end he'd be just another Lamar Renfield. Vera didn't love him. She'd never love any man more than she loved herself, or maybe because she couldn't love herself, she couldn't love anyone. I shook my head, wondering if at last I was finally growing up. Was the mature side of me going forth at this very moment? I felt the rising excitement, and none of the fear I experienced on our wedding night. He could have gone and never said a word to warn me. He could have taken Vera, and I wouldn't have contested our divorce. And he knew that. Still, he was giving me another chance. He did love me. It wasn't pity. He did love me. His eyes delved into mine as his hands gripped my shoulders, and his voice filled with an urgency as if he sensed what was going on within me. We can start over, he said. This time we can start off right. Just you and me, without Sylvia in the next room for you to fret about. I have physical feelings for Vera, but I love you in the sweet romantic ways that seem silly with someone as unromantic as Vera. You touch my heart when I come home and see you sitting near the window, staring out. I stand and I see the way the light falls through your hair and makes it a halo on your skin. And your skin seems so translucent, and I feel with wonder that you're mine. Vera never makes me feel I have someone special, only someone any man could have. I used to think when I was younger that when I won you, I won a princess who would love me forever, and happily we'd grow old together, and hand in hand we'd face old age without fear.